Week 4 preview on the Falva and Pinta Bean Show. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to pick a couple of our, I don't know if I want to call them favorite games, but a couple games that stood out to us, and just talk about a few things that are going on in the NFL. A little bit of hangover from Week 3, if you want to call it that, and then, obviously moving on to Week 4. So, Jason, I guess we determined already, you're going to be the homer this week. All right, you're going to stick to the Broncos. I'm going to avoid talking about the Chiefs. And for anyone that's watched any of their games, they probably understand why I don't really want to talk about them right now.
Yeah, I don't blame you, Jeff, at all for wanting to pass up on the Chiefs this week. But we go to the AFC West with the Broncos, and it's really not any prettier. Last week, the Broncos had an opportunity to go into Tennessee, play a tough team, get a good win. The Broncos are tied 14-14. They have a chance to win it. Tennessee goes up by 3. The ball was in Kyle Orton's hands to win it. It is Neckbeard's turn. It is his turn to show his fourth quarter comeback. What does the guy do? He screws the pooch. Okay? I'm telling you what. I'm sitting there with my wife on a Sunday afternoon investing my time to watch the Denver Broncos.
How much did you pay for NFL
I
Sunday
paid
ticket?
$330 for Sunday ticket.
Okay.
$23.95 a Sunday afternoon Kyle Orton. Kyle Neckbeard Orton. It's not good enough, okay? You get the ball. You're driving. You cannot get the ball batted at the line of scrimmage. It's picked off. Game over. Titans run it down. Game, set, match. I'm tired of it. I give Orton till the bye week. He's going to go to Green Bay this week. It can be a good game because our defense is playing well. But Orton, he's just not getting it done. I gave him Green Bay. We're going home to play San Diego. 2 tough games in a row. I honestly think we're going to see Tebow. Tebow! Come week 9.
Jason, you think for those of the viewers that are looking at our Facebook page, they should check out the Tim Tebow billboards?
Yes, we'll have to get those posted. Tim Tebow billboards. There's 2 up in Denver, but a little bit of a spin-off in a different direction. We'll get those up right away so you guys can check them out.
I think they get the point across.
They do. They do. Even a bad luck equals a good Tebow.
I personally, as a Chiefs fan, I'd love to see Tim Tebow play. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. If we're going to win 2 games this year, maybe 2 of them, well, maybe 1 of them could be against Denver. Maybe. Maybe it's Tebow's first game. That'd be great.
Week 10? Yeah, week 10, I think they meet, so
we'll see what happens.
Yep. So,
well, I'm going to stick to the topic of quarterbacks, but I'm going to head to the NFC East, and maybe everyone's already talking about this, but Michael Vick. Now, as everybody knows by now, Michael Vick criticized the officials for taking late hits. Now, the only problem is, Mike got called out a little bit. Looking back over the course of the last few years, no team has been given no team in the NFC East, has been given more roughing the passer calls than the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, if you actually watch the tape, I'm not saying Mike hasn't taken any borderline hits, but what I am saying is most of the time he's getting hit, it's for one of 2 reasons. 1, nobody's blocking, or 2, he's holding on to the ball too long. Now, beyond that, beyond just the hits, beyond being banged up, the thing that goes beyond that bothers me about Michael Vick is just this. I'll use Joe Montana as a reference. Had Joe Montana taken a cheap shot, do you think he would have went to the media and said, "Oh, why always me? My hand hurts. I hate the officials. They stink." Obviously I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but I can't picture Joe Montana. I can't picture even in today's game a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I can't picture them getting in front of the media and, I'm not saying he totally blamed the refs, but he basically said he's taking too many hits. Now, to me, if he's the leader of that football team, instead of blaming the refs, he says, "Hey, we got to step up. I got to make more plays." Now, for those of us that are fans, we watch the game and we know darn well, a big part of the problem is the offensive line more than it's Michael Vick. Now, yes, there are times he brings it on himself, scrambling and not sliding, holding onto the ball too long. But as a leader, regardless of what position you play, as a leader, it doesn't even have to be in football. It can be in any sport, in any office. Sometimes you just take the blame for things that aren't your fault. It stinks, but if you're going to be a leader, that's what you do. In the offseason, all we heard was, why are all these guys signing with the Philadelphia Eagles? Well, because they want to play with Michael Vick. I heard Colin Jenkins signed because he wanted to play with Michael Vick. A big reason for Nnamdi Asomugha. He wanted to play with Michael Vick. Now here's my question. These same guys that were so bent on playing with Michael Vick, what are they thinking when they're sitting at their locker and they look across the room and they see Michael Vick doing an interview blaming the refs for their problems? That just doesn't come across as a leader to me. And, if I'm in that locker room, I don't know that I'm asking for Mike Kafka to play, but I just don't think it's good for the team morale.
No, you're definitely right, Jeff. There's a lot of good points there. I think Mike Vick does need to think a little bit. Emotions are high. You stick a microphone in his face right after the game. Stuff gets said a lot of the time. Half the time, things that are said right after the game, players, the next day you see them refute what they said, and the team issues a big statement. The words were twisted or whatever. But I don't think it was a very good thing. Stand by Mike Vick that day to say the things he said. So.
Right.
The next thing we're going to get on to is our picks this week. This week we got a lot of big games. We're going into week 4. There's some games that are real pivotal, divisional-wise, and also interconference and also interconference. So we're going to get into those picks, and we're going to start off this week by doing Texans-Steelers. Now, last week the Steelers eked it out by beating the Colts on Sunday Night Football. Mind you, it was a Peyton Manning-less Colts team, but they still got it done. And if it weren't for backup Curtis Painter missing Garcon on a stripe, we might be talking about the Steelers being 1-2. But hey, shoulda, coulda, woulda had a boost, and we didn't. The Texans will win this game. The reason why the Texans will win this game is because Warren Sapp called this Steelers defense old. Now, the Steelers have some playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. Lawrence Timmons can still get after it. James Harrison is still a very good player. Lamar Woodley, very good. We could go on and on about how good Troy Polamalu is. But those 3 guys up front, those war pigs up front, they're not getting it done like they used to. Aaron Smith can't get off blocks like he used to. Casey Hampton is nothing but a big 350-pound piece of nothing anymore. He's getting pushed off the ball, used to command double teams, and he's just not doing it anymore.
But he is big.
He's big.
Really
He's
big.
very big.
Okay.
He's very big. My wife and I enjoy watching him trying to get off the ground. That's another thing. I believe the Texans are going to beat the Steelers this week because Schaub and that offense are going to come in, they're going to spread them out, they're going to pick on the Steelers' weak secondary. Ike Taylor never was an elite corner. He's going up against the best wide receiver in the game in Andre Johnson. I think Arian Foster coming back is going to be a nice 1-2 punch with Ben Tate. And I also really like the emergence of the tight end, Owen Daniels. Owen Daniels, he's not big in fantasy numbers, but he's always a check down guy for Matt Schaub, and it's going to be a huge mismatch. I love Owen Daniels versus James Ferrier this week. I like the Houston Texans to win this game by 10 points.
Good pick. I have the privilege, and this is the only time I get to put on my Homer hat, but I'm going to get to pick the loser bowl between the Vikings and the Chiefs. Now, in this game, I don't know that I can so much pick who's going to win. I'm just going to pick who is going to be terrible the least. All right? Now, I used to say, when I was growing up, Marty Schottenheimer coached the Chiefs, and if a game was in Arrowhead Stadium, you felt really confident the Chiefs were going to win. Their defense was great. They ran the ball. They out-physical teams. They wore them down. Unfortunately, at this point, dating back to last year, the last 3 games the Chiefs have played in Arrowhead Stadium, they lost by double digits to the Raiders. They got smoked by the Ravens in the playoffs, and they got destroyed by the Buffalo Bills in Week 1. I don't know that Arrowhead Stadium is that big of an advantage. Secondly, who's coming back to town but Jared Allen, the former Chief, great pass rusher, had 3 sacks last week. And, this is just one of those games where, you say, okay, what could possibly go wrong? And from my perspective, what could go wrong for the Chiefs? I don't think they have an answer for Jared Allen. And I also don't think that with Jamal Charles out, they can establish a consistent running game. So I think it's going to be sloppy. I think both teams have multiple turnovers. I think McNabb tries to throw the game away. But Matt, I throw interceptions on screen passes. Castle will refuse to win. I'm going to say it's 13-10 Vikings.
Wow, that's a big statement. Now, Arrowhead is a typical place to play, I must say, as a Broncos fan. I know we were winless there for many, many years in November. Tough team to play in Arrowhead, but it is tides have changed there in Arrowhead. Let's move our attention to Sunday Night Football, where we got an absolute slobber knocker. We got Jets and Ravens, baby. I'm talking Rex Ryan getting back together with his old team. Mark Sanchez, broken nose and all, going at it with the Ravens. Now, the Ravens defense isn't as stout as it used to be, but they still got playmakers. They're still going to bring the wood. I look for a real physical game. Better bring your lunch, strap your helmet, and get at it. But I like the Ravens in this one. Flacco's really playing well. The emergence of Torrey Smith. Finally, he's got a burner. He can use that big arm. Too much offense for the Jets. The Jets really just got taken to the woodshed by Darren McFadden in that running game. The Ravens are going to punish with Ray Rice. I love Ed Dixon and Dennis Pitta. I think the Ravens win big. I'm going to go by 13 points on this game. Ravens by 13.
All right. The last game we're going to cover, the Colts and the Bucs. And we were talking earlier off camera. Just this week on NFL Network, they did a highlight of the greatest comebacks, and one of them was when Peyton Manning led the Colts back against the Bucs. Under 6 minutes left in the game, the Bucs are up by 21, and the Colts came back and won. I have a similar prediction to that. I think with 6 minutes left in the game, the Bucs are going to be up by 21, and it's going to stay that way. I think the Colts kind of fired their best shot at the Steelers. It was a game on national television. They wanted to prove they were more than Peyton Manning. And hey, they gave it a heck of a run. They came up short. I think this game they're going to come out a little bit flat. Tampa is a young, improving team. I think the Bucs defense is a little bit too much for them to handle. And I'm going to say 24-3.
24-3.
It's going to be a rough one in Indy land.
Well, then that's a good thing that I'm starting the Bucs defense in fantasy football.
Yes, sir.
Well, that about wraps it up for the Fava and Pinto Bean show for the week. We appreciate you tuning in. Week 4 is going to be some great games, and we look forward to seeing you next week.